The scorching sun rises over the endless Egyptian desert, dunes shimmering like waves of fire. A violent sandstorm has unearthed the entrance of a forgotten temple long buried beneath shifting sands. Evelyn kneels before a massive stone tablet, her fingers tracing glowing hieroglyphs that whisper of an ancient curse. Rick stands guard with rifle in hand, scanning the horizon for threats. Jonathan mutters nervously, already dreaming of treasure while fumbling with a flask. Alex holds up a strange medallion, pulsing faintly with green light as though alive. Ardith Bey arrives cloaked in black, warning that this temple should remain sealed. Suddenly, the ground rumbles, a hollow roar vibrating through the dunes. Faces form briefly in the swirling sands, screaming silently before fading. The family exchange grim looks. They have awakened something they cannot yet see. Inside the temple, torchlight flickers across towering pillars etched with serpents and scarabs. Evelyn deciphers an inscription foretelling a second scourge, greater than Imhotep, the eternal serpent, imprisoned for millennia. Alex nervously fits the medallion into an altar groove, releasing a blinding light. The walls come alive with glowing murals, showing gods and monsters locked in battle. Jonathan backs into a skeleton in rusted armor, which crumbles in his hands. Sand pours through cracks above, as if the temple itself resists their intrusion. Ardith Bey warns that they have triggered the beginning of a prophecy. A chilling hiss echoes through the chamber, curling around them like smoke. The floor trembles, and chains embedded in the walls begin to rattle. From deep below, two golden reptilian eyes flicker open in the dark. At night, the group rests around a campfire under the starlit desert sky. Evelyn reads the prophecy aloud. When the serpent rises, the sun will fall. Rick sits sharpening his knife, face tense and brooding. Jonathan gulps nervously at every desert sound, clutching his flask. Alex can't take his eyes off the medallion, its glow reflected in his pupils. Ardith Bey whispers prayers into the wind, which suddenly picks up unnaturally. The fire explodes upward, forming the fleeting image of a serpent. A whispering voice calls Alex's name in ancient Egyptian, echoing in his mind. He jolts awake in cold sweat as the desert falls into silence. Then, faint on the horizon, glowing eyes approach. Dozens of skeletal riders on horseback emerge from the dunes, heading straight for their camp. The heroes flee into an underground hall, vast and echoing, its pillars carved with monstrous serpents. Torches sputter, casting jagged shadows across the walls. Evelyn studies inscriptions that warn, "Break the chains, and the eternal serpent shall reign." Jonathan clumsily drops his torch, igniting brittle bones scattered across the floor. Rick raises his revolver as the temperature plunges, frost forming on stone. Alex runs his hand across a pillar, causing hidden glyphs to glow. Ardith Bey kneels, palm pressed to the trembling ground, chanting. Suddenly, a deafening roar erupts below, shaking dust and sand from the ceiling. The floor splits apart, revealing a pit of swirling blackness. From within, glowing golden eyes rise slowly, unblinking, fixed upon them. Chaos explodes in modern Cairo as tremors ripple through the city. Crowds scream as buildings crack, neon signs flickering and collapsing. A blood-red glow erupts from the Great Pyramid, beams of energy piercing the night sky. Evelyn collapses, struck by terrifying visions of undead legions marching worldwide. Rick drags her up as Alex shouts, pointing toward hidden tunnels beneath ancient ruins. Jonathan clutches old scrolls that burst suddenly into golden flames. Ardith Bey orders them forward, but the ground bursts open beneath their feet. A massive winged serpent launches into the air, scales shimmering black and gold. Its roar shakes windows across the city, statues shattering as spirits pour free. Cairo becomes a battlefield as the serpent coils menacingly around the glowing pyramid. The group races through ancient tunnels beneath the city, torches flickering wildly. Evelyn deciphers hurriedly from burning scrolls, revealing that only the blood of kings can bind the serpent again. Alex insists the prophecy points to him, but Rick refuses to believe his son must be sacrificed. Jonathan stumbles, dropping his bag of stolen artifacts, which clatter ominously. Ardith Bey leads them to a hidden chamber, walls glowing faintly with starlight reflected through cracks above. Hieroglyphs reveal the serpent once ruled Egypt before even the pharaohs. A massive stone coffin sits in the center, chains glowing with faint blue fire. The ground shakes as hissing fills the chamber, the chains straining as though something still trapped below fights to break free. Evelyn gasps. Imhotep's name is carved into the chains as a key to unlocking them. In a ruined palace hall, Evelyn and Rick argue fiercely about their next move. Evelyn insists they must stop the serpent at all costs, even if Alex is part of the prophecy. Rick, furious, swears he will never allow his son to be sacrificed. Jonathan interrupts, panicked, pointing to statues cracking open around them. From the broken stone, undead priests emerge, their hollow eyes glowing red. Alex grabs the medallion, which reacts violently, glowing brighter as the priests bow to him. Evelyn screams for him to drop it, but he can't. It fuses to his palm with burning light. Ardith Bey steps forward, declaring that Alex has been chosen as both savior and sacrifice. Rick fires at the undead as the chamber collapses around them, forcing them to escape. Outside, the night sky glows blood red, lightning splitting the heavens. A vast Egyptian desert under the blood-red sky, a sandstorm swirling violently as ancient ruins emerge from beneath the shifting sands. In the distance, the colossal silhouette of a serpent coils around a ruined temple, glowing eyes burning like fire in the storm. Rick O'Connell grips a rifle tightly, standing beside Evelyn, who holds a glowing artifact against the wind. Jonathan clutches a bag of stolen treasures, his scarf whipping in the dust. Alex stands apart, his chest faintly glowing with the medallion's power, his face pale with dread. Ardith Bey's cloak flows behind him, his sword raised as if commanding the storm. Lightning flashes across the dunes, illuminating skeletal warriors rising from the sands. The scene captures raw chaos, the scale of humans against the monstrous forces of ancient Egypt. Ultra-realistic 4K, cinematic lighting, sharp textures of sand and stone, storm particles in high detail, dramatic movie poster shot. The group escapes through desert ruins under starlight, pursued by mercenaries. Evelyn explains that the tears of Isis are hidden within a temple submerged beneath the Nile. Jonathan groans about swimming with crocodiles, but Rick pushes them forward. Ardith Bey leads them to boats waiting on the riverbanks. The moonlight glistens across the Nile, reflecting eerily on the water surface. As they row across, ripples disturb the calm water beneath them. Suddenly, massive shapes move below, ancient guardians awakened by the serpent's rise. Giant crocodiles with glowing eyes attack, snapping at the boats with terrifying force. Rick fights them off with rifle shots as Alex clutches the medallion, its glow forming a protective aura. One crocodile lunges at Jonathan, nearly capsizing the boat before Rick kills it. They row frantically toward the temple ruins, emerging in the moonlight. The submerged temple rises from the Nile, as if summoned by the medallion's power. Its walls glisten with algae, hieroglyphs glowing faintly beneath the water surface. Evelyn gasps as she sees carvings of Isis cradling the tears, depicted as a crystal vial. The group wades inside, water waist-deep, echoing with their every step. Strange whispers fill the temple, as if unseen spirits chant endlessly. Jonathan nervously jokes about ghosts until a cold hand grabs his ankle, pulling him under. Rick dives in, firing underwater as skeletal remains come to life. Alex's medallion glows, forcing the spirits back temporarily. Evelyn locates a hidden chamber sealed by a golden door. Ardith Bey places his hand upon it, chanting as the door bursts open. Inside rest the tears of Isis, glowing faintly with divine blue light. As Evelyn carefully lifts the tears of Isis from its pedestal, the temple begins to quake violently. Water surges in from cracks in the walls, threatening to drown them. Jonathan panics, stuffing loose golden trinkets into his satchel despite Evelyn's warnings. The spirits guarding the chamber rise again, shrieking, their translucent forms clawing at the group. Rick fires wildly while dragging Jonathan toward the exit. Alex clutches the medallion tightly, its glow intensifying as it seems to resonate with the tears. Ardith Bey chants a protective incantation, creating a barrier of light that holds back the spirits. The group narrowly escapes as the temple collapses into the Nile behind them. Exhausted and soaked, they collapse on the riverbank under the pale moonlight. Evelyn whispers that they now hold the only hope of stopping the Eternal Serpent. Back in Cairo, the serpent coils around the Great Pyramid, its body blotting out the stars. Lightning crackles from its scales, striking buildings and igniting fires across the city. Streets are filled with chaos as citizens flee from collapsing structures. The cult of the serpent marches openly, chanting praises as undead warriors rise from beneath the sands. Imhotep himself appears among them, resurrected once more, smirking at the destruction. Evelyn gasps when she sees him in her visions, his power stronger than ever. Rick clenches his fists in rage, vowing to kill him once and for all. Alex feels torn as the medallion pulses painfully, binding him closer to the serpent. Ardith Bey declares that the final battle must happen at dawn within the Valley of the Serpent. Jonathan mutters that they'll all be dead before breakfast. The O'Connells journey to the Valley of the Serpent, passing through a wasteland of scorched earth and skeletal remains. The air is thick with ash, the sky a perpetual blood-red glow. Evelyn holds the tears of Isis close, whispering prayers as she walks. Alex grows pale, haunted by visions of himself standing beside the serpent. Rick keeps his rifle ready, but fear flickers in his eyes when he looks at his son. Jonathan complains bitterly, but follows anyway, muttering about cursed families. Ardith Bey warns that Imhotep is already preparing a ritual to merge with the serpent's essence. Suddenly, the ground erupts, and swarms of giant scarabs pour toward them. Rick and Jonathan fight desperately while Evelyn uses the tear's glow to repel them. Alex raises the medallion, which blasts the scarabs into ash with a surge of light. But the power nearly consumes him, leaving him trembling and weak. The group finally reaches the Valley of the Serpent, a massive crater surrounded by jagged cliffs. At its center lies an obsidian altar covered in glowing runes, and Imhotep stands atop it. The eternal serpent coils around the altar, its body larger than the pyramids, its eyes burning like suns. Imhotep raises his arms, chanting, drawing energy from the serpent's form. Evelyn screams that he means to merge with the creature, becoming unstoppable. Rick charges forward, firing at Imhotep, but his bullets dissolve midair. Jonathan sneaks around, attempting to steal scrolls from the altar. Alex collapses as the medallion burns against his chest, binding him to the serpent. Ardith Bey rallies his warriors, clashing with the cultists in brutal combat. The battlefield erupts into chaos, flames and lightning lighting the valley. The roar of the serpent drowns out all else, shaking the earth itself. The ritual begins, red lightning spiraling from the serpent into Imhotep's body. His skin glows with molten cracks as he screams with triumph. Evelyn lifts the tears of Isis, chanting the prayer to weaken the bond. The vial glows with divine blue light, countering the serpent's energy. Imhotep snarls and turns his power on her, blasting her to the ground. Rick rushes to her side, shielding her from falling debris. Alex staggers forward, compelled by the medallion, his eyes glowing faintly. He raises his hand, and the serpent pauses, recognizing him as the chosen one. Ardith Bey shouts that Alex must complete the ritual before Imhotep does. Jonathan, half panicked, smashes stolen scrolls on the ground. releasing a burst of sacred fire. For a brief moment, the battlefield is flooded with golden light, forcing Imhotep back. Alex steps onto the altar, his body trembling as the medallion fuses with his chest. He cries out as energy from the serpent surges into him, nearly tearing him apart. Evelyn screams for her son, but Ardith Bey holds her back, saying this is his destiny. Rick fights off cultists desperately, his rage giving him strength. Imhotep roars in fury, hurling blasts of energy at Alex. But Alex raises his arms, forming a shield of golden light with the medallion's power. The serpent writhes in confusion, torn between Imhotep and Alex. Jonathan runs clumsily through the chaos, carrying the tears of Isis toward the altar. He trips, nearly dropping them, but Rick catches the vial mid-battle. Evelyn begins chanting again, guiding Alex through the ancient ritual. The valley shakes as the serpent screams, trapped between freedom and imprisonment. Imhotep lunges at Alex, his body blazing with corrupted power. Rick intercepts, engaging him in a brutal hand-to-hand fight on the altar. The two clash violently, lightning and fire erupting around them. Evelyn continues chanting with the tears of Isis glowing in her hands. Ardith Bey and his warriors hold the cultists at bay, their swords clashing under the blood-red sky. Jonathan hides behind a broken pillar, throwing stones at enemies and shouting useless advice. Alex screams as the medallion burns deeper into his chest, merging with his soul. Imhotep overpowers Rick, hurling him aside like a ragdoll. Just as Imhotep raises his hand to kill Alex, Evelyn pours the tears light into her son. A divine oration d'Alex, blasting Imhotep Bakwa. The eternal serpent writhes, caught in the glow, unable to resist. The serpent roars, its massive body thrashing against the cliffs, sending rocks tumbling. Alex, glowing with divine light, levitates above the altar. Evelyn and Rick shout his name, begging him to fight through the pain. Imhotep, burned but not defeated, lunges again with desperation. Jonathan hurls a broken sword at him, missing entirely but distracting him. Ardith Bey strikes Imhotep with a sacred blade, piercing his chest. Imhotep howls as the serpent's power abandons him, turning his body to ash. Alex channels the last of the medallion's power into the tears of Isis. The vial bursts in a blinding light, sending a wave across the valley. The eternal serpent shrieks, its body crumbling into dust, vanishing into the wind. Silence falls as the battlefield is consumed by glowing golden light. As the dust settles, the valley lies in ruins, silent except for crackling fires. Alex collapses into his parents' arms. Weak but alive, the medallion now gone. Evelyn cradles him, tears in her eyes, whispering thanks to the gods. Rick looks at his son with pride, though fear lingers in his eyes. Ardith Bey bows solemnly, saying the prophecy has been fulfilled. Jonathan emerges from hiding, covered in dust, triumphantly holding a small golden idol he accidentally saved. The survivors look out as the blood-red sky fades back into blue dawn. The tears of Isis, cracked and empty, lie on the altar as dust. Evelyn warns that while the serpent is gone, the balance of life and death has been disturbed. Rick mutters that they'll never have a quiet life again. The film closes with a sweeping shot of the desert, golden sands calm once more. The O'Connells ride away on camels, exhausted but together, silhouetted against the rising sun. Jonathan lags behind, still complaining about his finder's fee. Evelyn smiles faintly, though her eyes linger on the ruins in the distance. Alex looks down at his hand, noticing faint glowing marks still etched into his skin. Rick watches him silently, concern hidden behind his stoic face. Ardith Bey disappears into the horizon, vowing to guard Egypt from the next threat. The camera pans upward, showing the Great Pyramid, its peak glowing faintly with residual energy. A low hiss echoes on the wind, almost too faint to hear. The screen fades to black as the words appear. The curse is never broken.